Yes, sir.
Rock and roll. Let me give the blue, I gotta figure that whole blue thing out when it be turning and, boom. Welcome to Conversations with Malik podcast, and we like to thank everybody who listens and watches this show.
That's right.
Please don't forget us to follow us at convoswithmalik.com. Convoswithmalik.com. I'm here with my co-host with the most, Jeff Jones. How you doing, Jeff Jones?
Yes, sir. Another beautiful day, but it's cold.
And you're what?
Coat need a coat.
His coat needs a coat. You know. And listen, check us out on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Instagram,
W Malik on Instagram,
Facebook page, Conversations with Malik, and YouTube, the same thing. Like us,
share us, love us,
subscribe. I'd like to thank everybody who helps out with the show. Kareem, the Dream, Raheem, all the audio engineering. Mm-hmm. Thank you for everything. Justin Ma, social media guru, who just, you make us official.
Co-host Mona,
how you doing, Mo?
Mona.
And just everybody who supports the show, all the PR people, who sends us your guests. We really appreciate you guys.
That's right.
And listen, I'm here with freelance consultant Michael Lambert. How you doing, Michael Lambert?
Doing well tonight. Thank you for having me.
And thanks for being here. Let's give him a round of applause. They're gonna fly in all of the sounds, doing the podcast. and you know what's so dope, because his son used to ride on my bus.
Yeah, that's correct.
And I'm getting that a lot. So
and that's what happens too. Where we run the business, we meet different people. We're not just offering a service.
No doubt.
But we often run into parents that's actually doing something, have a career that they building, whether it's a business, and we always here to support.
Yeah. How old is he now?
He's 21 now. He says so you're low. Yeah, you wouldn't recognize if you passed him on the street.
He'd even riding the bus. Yo, your business is old, son.
Yeah, that's a blessing though, man.
It's a blessing.
That's a blessing.
Definitely good though. Definitely good.
And these kids walk up to me, hey, Mr. Malik, how you doing? I'm like, and then I make out the face. I'm like, oh man, how you doing? Because I remember a lot of the names and the faces. And so listen, man, we was talking over the summer. We was at Cambridge Heights Day.
Correct.
And finally glad to get you in. And there's a lot going on in Queens.
Definitely.
I don't want to say there's more bad than good, but it seems like it is. Politically, socioeconomically, culturally, with all of the murders, the gangs. I never thought that I would be saying this, but Southeast Queens is riddled with gangs of young kids that are killing each other senselessly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate
and it hurts, man.
Right now. Definitely. I think, there's a lot of, that people want to fault with that. People talk about, the end of stop and frisk and that being bad policy. But I guess you have to take the good with the bad, because I think that there is a feeling that it's easier to carry now because there's less of a likelihood of being stopped.
Of getting stopped.
So, so if you're not going to get stopped, you're more willing to carry.
Right.
And, some of these young kids, it's like they don't value life the same way that, say, we did when we were their age.
Right.
I'm not sure exactly what to make of that. And, they say crime is down across the city, which obviously the numbers reflect that. But lately it does feel like there's been an uptick of the shootings and, the murders that are happening, in particular with young black men. Mm-hmm. We lost a young man who was out there just playing basketball the other day. Yeah.
And then the same gun shot a girl 3 days later.
Yeah.
Upon the same gun. And I'm saying to myself, hold on, I know y'all are dumb. Because once a gun kills somebody, you're supposed to dispose of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the lifestyle, yeah.
I mean, if you get caught with it, you kind of get caught with the body.
That's correct, yeah.
You got to prove your way out of the body if you get caught with a gun that killed. So they're just totally y'all kept the gun?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's going on right now with young people. You know, I think that we need to definitely find more ways to engage them in more constructive and more positive activities. I mean, it's unfortunate because this young man was out there just balling, and apparently he
Good
loved
kid from
basketball.
Cardozo.
Good kid.
From Cardozo, they were saying all. My daughter went to
student.
Cardozo.
Right.
Not involved in any of that, negative type of
And let me
activity.
say something. It doesn't make you a bad kid because you're from Baisley.
Correct.
Absolutely
It
not.
doesn't make you a bad kid because you're from 40.
Correct.
It don't make you a bad person because you grew up off of something.
Correct.
It don't make you a bad kid because you grew up like, off of maybe God Brew in 107.
Right.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
There's good kids because it was almost like, oh, well, you kind of expect that in Baisley. But no, most of the kids in Baisley ain't bad. You see the guys hanging outside. Those are the few that's hanging out in Laurelton. Like,
Yeah.
those are the few in Cambridge. There's a few guys that hang out in Cambridge Heights. It's not everybody.
Correct.
So he don't deserve to die no more than a kid that was from Queens Village or you get what I'm saying?
Cambridge, etc.
I think the field was kind of like, oh yeah, well, that is Baisley, and no, you should be, First of all, the police, what do they call those? The Sky Towers?
The towers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, the tower was literally right there.
Yeah, I saw that.
There probably was nobody in it.
No, there was somebody in it. There's somebody in it 24 hours. There's no such thing as a Sky Tower and nobody's in it.
So it was right there, and
There's no such thing as a Sky Tower and nobody's in it. It's 24 hours. Somebody's in it. They don't just put them there. And there was a police officer standing outside. So there was like one or two up in the Sky Tower, and then there was somebody that's like on the beat right outside.
Yeah, I mean, it's troubling. It's definitely troubling.
it's definitely troubling. And how about the way the young kids is disrespecting police officers? That's happening a lot these days.
Yeah,
There's something that happened in the subways. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh no, I saw the
social media.
subways. I saw the march, the FTP march as they called it, down Flatbush. They culminated by the Barclays Arena. And
Wasn't that last? That was recent.
about 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
About 2 weeks ago. There's actually another one planned. I believe it's near the end of this month. So they're planning to do this over and over again. And I know that Errol Lewis actually wrote an article about this because some of the people that are participating in these kinds of negative activities, they're believed not to be from the area. They're believed to be like agitators that kind of like come out to kind of like incite people. That's one of the things they talk about. And right now, that all kind of feeds also into like some of the dynamic that's going on in the political arena right now, because you have a lot of young people who just feel like they need to belong to something. They feel disenfranchised. They feel that they're not being listened to, and they're asking for things. I'm not really sure if they really realize what they're asking for.
As in what?
In terms of, okay, so you have the No New Jails movement, right? Which is a movement of what they call jail abolitionists, who believe that no one should be incarcerated. And they combine that with the demand for the immediate closure of Rikers Island.
Right.
Now, to me, I actually worked as a civilian on Rikers Island for some 7+ years.
Yeah.
And I came into contact with a lot of inmates, and some of the inmates I came in contact would tell me that, that they felt they needed to be locked up. And it's unfortunate to have to say that, but they felt that their job was to go out there and basically rob and harm.
Right.
That was like how people go to work. They consider that their job.
Right.
And when you know that there are folks who actually think that, I remember the first time I heard a young man, it was C-76, the building where you only go if you're going to do, like, say, a year or less. And he was actually talking about the next time he was coming back to jail, he was going to do it right. And I was like, you haven't left yet, and you're already planning your return.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it was like, there's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
And I think that when people start calling for the abolition of incarceration, which I think ideally in a perfect world would be a blessing and a beautiful thing. But if you're talking about a city of like some 9 million people, the thing that everybody's going to get along every day of the year without the need for any type of rehabilitation or incarceration, it feels very pie in the sky. Like, it's not realistic.
Well, I think some of that is coming from, mass incarceration.
True.
over sentencing.
True.
Sentencing young men to, like my friend Lawrence Bartley just came home, did 27 years in 2 weeks. You know, harsh sentences being passed to young men
Time
at 16 and 17, charging them as men.
Correct.
Hitting them at the board over and over and over and over, where, you know, okay, I was 17, but now I'm 40 something. I'm a different person.
Right, right.
I think that was some of it, because I remember we had the discussion here in the house when, you know, during the presidential campaign with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, my kids refused to vote for Hillary Clinton because of
the incarceration record.
Right, with her and Bill Clinton.
Right,
they just couldn't do it. They was like, Dad, there's no way you... And I'm like, yeah, but we can't let Trump win. They like, yeah, but I'm voting for the Green Party or the this or the that. I'm sorry, I just can't. And, you know, so... But now, Rikers Island, you know, Jay-Z with the whole documentary that he did for the young brother. Oh, we
Meek Mill?
Well, Meek Mill's with the young brother that committed suicide when he left.
Yes. Browder.
Right.
Yeah, Khalif Browder.
Right. So, Rikers Island has been poorly run. My opinion. Right?
It's a dangerous place.
It's a dangerous place.
Yeah.
The police beating the Rikers officers beating people up. I personally know guys from my neighborhood, from my building in Rochdale, who lost their jobs from bringing drugs to inmates.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I have stories too.
Damn.
I worked on the healthcare side, and some of these guys would be released, and they would get locked back up, and they would come back, and they'd have pictures of some of the staff members on the outside. I'm like, what's going on here?
So,
wow.
I think, and so this kind of leads to my question. So I think what it is that they're, okay, yes, some of them are like abolitionists, and they're just like, no jails, there's other ways to reform people, and they are.
Correct.
Right? But until we establish that, let's break them up, put them in jails in the different boroughs, which will cut down on the violence, because when Brooklyn meets Queens, you know, South Bronx meets Bed-Stuy.
Yeah, because I remember when I was an administrator in HDM, which is the House of Detention for Men, also known as the James A. Thomas Center, which at the time, the second floor of that building, it's one of the few, Rikers Island really only has two vertical jails. One is the old Rikers Island Hospital, which they call the North Infirmary Command. The other one is the HDM, where on the second floor is basically what they call punitive segregation. So in HDM on the second floor in punitive seg, that's where, if you're reading about somebody like notoriously violent in the newspapers, that's where they're housed. The guys that are going to court with like automatic weapon escorts, that kind of thing. You know, that's where they're housed. So it's a very, very violent place. But I remember when I was a clinic administrator there, and they literally built 3 cells inside the clinic waiting room to separate. At that time is when the Bloods had first started coming on the scene in New York, to separate the Bloods from the Crips. They all came down for sick call. They literally had 3 jails within the jail. In like a clinic waiting area. And I'd witnessed some some pretty bad stuff. I saw one guy get his ear cut off by another gang member.
Goodness gracious.
You know, so it's real when you talk about this stuff.
It's real.
You know,
It's deep.
It's real. So the thing is, I think the idea is, let's just tear down the Rikers Island, split people up into the jails. I personally think that there also needs to be more programs. Listen, I'm from the hood, so look, I know some people need to be off the street. I get that. But I think there also needs to be a stronger rehabilitation process, as far as a lot of these people in prison, some of them been raped and molested. They got all kinds of issues. Grew up in foster care.
Right.
You know, extreme poverty. We could go on and on and on and on. Addicted to drugs and alcohol.
correct.
Like I had some family members that was also addicted to drugs.
Grew up with parents who were. So there's all types of issues that I think foster some of the anger and resentment and the aggression that come from people that I think will cut down on the jail population.
But I think what's ironic though is that the people who are making the most noise, and it's always great to have advocates, but at times you get the impression that they're not the same individuals who've actually been abused by the system. You have like what they call this woke culture now.
Yes.
Where you have a lot of educated youth,
Right.
who in many cases are not coming from the streets, who are well-to-do, who see it almost as their charge
I agree.
to take up these causes.
I agree.
And it kind of gets like twisted a little bit. I mean, even if you look at what happened, I think it was Friday night at Broadway Junction Subway. I don't know if you heard about that. There was a woman selling churros.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And 3 officers, well, obviously they knew her because they called her by her first name, but they
Yeah.
ended up cuffing her.
Yeah.
Now, should you be cuffing somebody because they're illegally selling churros in the subway? That could come across as excessive. However, the converse of that is if you're a trained police officer, if you're taking someone into custody, you don't want their hands to be free. Because now, if this seemingly innocent woman, God forbid, pulls out a weapon
Right.
and starts to use it on you, there's a why did you cuff her? So it's
And she
almost-
was warned too.
Yeah, she was warned. You know, and this is not the first time because she's actually gotten summoned 10 times this
She
year.
was an immigrant, right?
I believe so. I don't know that for a fact, but I believe so.
Yeah.
And the thing is this, you know, everyone wants to talk about the fact that they feel that people are criminalizing poverty. And I think there are some aspects of what you see happening that are happening predominantly to poor people. But I think a lot of it is still rooted in law. And there's appropriate ways to change laws if they don't make sense or if you don't agree with them.
Yes.
And to your point, when you talk about rehabbing now, there's a big push, you know, in many states across the country to legalize marijuana. I saw a documentary where this guy, I think is it South Carolina? This guy is doing like 30 years for like a nickel bag.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, some of the stuff to your point doesn't make sense. It's like these charges are not mapping the sentences, and quite often when you look at the folks, they look like us.
Yeah.
But then it's almost like some other people are taking up these causes, and I'm not sure if they're doing it for the attention in some cases, because again, when you start having like these FTP rallies, you're writing, you know, killed pigs on the side of a police car, and you're talking about how, you know, the police are being too aggressive in what they're doing. Everything they do is criminalizing poverty. You know, too many cops in the subways arresting turnstile jumpers.
Right.
That could very well be. But there's also a video from a couple of months ago where they caught this kid jumping the turnstile. Cops cuffed him up, and the dude had a 9 in his waistband. They almost didn't catch it during the time they were searching him after he was cuffed. So you telling me that guy was running late for work? I'm lost on that.
Right.
You know? So I think that sometimes, and right now, video is everywhere.
Yes.
Social media is everywhere.
Cameras is everywhere.
You know? And so when you look at the video even of the vendor who was arrested, and you look at the woman who's filming the video, it's like, if you go back to Broadway Junction like some 10, 15 years ago, she probably wouldn't have been nowhere near that station because they're in Broadway Junction. And the people who live in that area before, no disrespect, didn't look like that.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that there are a lot of factors that are going on here that everyone's trying to justify their rightness.
Yeah.
And in doing that, they overlook a lot of things. Like when them kids started jumping over the turnstile the same night as the march they had on Flatbush, you look a lot of kids jumping the turnstile. They didn't look like us.
Yeah.
And then the thing is this, so is it a rally against like over policing, or is it a rally against not paying the fare and turnstile jumping? So all these things kind of get like muddled up,
I get what you're saying.
and people exploit that.
Yeah. So the whole message of everything, it gets diluted because other people come in that don't really have the interest at heart. They just want to be fighting against a cause just to be fighting.
Or they want to be in front of a camera, or they want to see
and they have all of these different, because there also is money around some of these political issues and stuff like that. Because these organizations, they make money off of being involved. They get people to join their organizations. There's a lot of, there's a lot of benefits.
Well, right now, there's a lot, and that's what's interesting, because if you look at like someone like Sean King, who, some people love Sean King, some people don't like Sean King. I'm personally not a Sean King fan.
Right.
He's blocked me on Twitter, I'm sure, because, when I start to call out things with facts, people don't want to have that, so you try to silence you, even though there's ways around that. But when you look at the organization that Sean King has started, they've raised millions upon millions of dollars on the Black Lives Matter movement, on the whole criminal justice reform movement. And when you peel back the layers, again, the people at the helm don't look like the people who have been most adversely impacted by all these circumstances.
Right.
You have to ask yourself, why is that?
Right.
When you look at the people that initially put AOC on the map, you look at where the money's coming from. It doesn't look, it's not reflective of the community that she's been given charge over.
Supposed to be fighting for. Talk to me about Southeast Queens and the political landscape in Southeast Queens.
So the thing with Southeast Queens, I feel like people in Southeast Queens are really starting to galvanize. There was a time when different clubs met on different days, which kind of dilutes, because out in Southeast Queens, for the most part, we live in a horizontal neighborhood. We don't live in a vertical neighborhood. The majority of where we live are not buildings. So people are spread out.
Right.
And you do have some very influential political clubs in Southeast Queens. I'm a member of the Douglas King Democratic Club. You have the United for Progress Club. You've got the Elmer Blackburn Club. You've got the Guy R. Brewer Democratic Club. And these are basically the torchbearers for the political movement in Southeast Queens when it came to black people, let's face it. Because for the most part, it was blacks and Afro-Caribbeans who made up predominantly Southeast Queens. And the neighborhoods, like every neighborhood changes.
Right.
So now we have some South Asians, we've got other Caribbean immigrants who are not of African descent.
Right.
But everyone still has common issues. So everyone's trying to come together. And right now, you have Gregory Meeks, Congressman Gregory Meeks, who is the chairperson of the Queens Democratic Organization. He was voted into that role back, I believe, in about March. And this came in the wake of Joe Crowley losing his congressional seat to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Right.
And so, people in Southeast Queens we got one of us to help. We're going to make some change. And all of a sudden, there are another set of folks further west in Queens, not predominantly of Afro-American, Afro-Caribbean descent. And they're putting letters of demands in front of the Congress member. Oh, this is all things we think are broken. You have to fix this. And my question is why now? You wait until one of us gets the helm, and all of a sudden it's you're trying to tear it down. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
And then when you combine that with some of the other factors you see happening in other parts of the borough, everything seems like an attack now to dismantle something that he's now trying to build.
Right.
And it's we're not supposed to have anything. It's almost like the way it makes you feel.
Yeah.
Because
people feel did other ethnic groups want to. Some other ethnic groups want to keep us down. There's a conscious effort to keep us down, to keep us politically weak. There's corruption in other areas, but they cleaned house in our area a couple years ago, taking everybody down, right? And I know that stuff goes on other places.
Oh yeah, sure.
I know it goes on other places, but they don't want us to galvanize and come together. So now they're making demands that they weren't making before,
right?
To try to water down the overall efforts.
I wouldn't even call it watered down. I think they're literally trying to take over the Queens County organization. And the thing is, you have, a lot of factors at the national level have really kind of motivated people in a variety of ways.
Okay.
So we had the Tea Party. Tea Party gave us Barack. Barack now gave us Trump because everyone's so angry, whatever the case may be. And now Trump is giving us.
Oh shit! I still listen.
Oh my
I
God.
still.
That was like that was one of the worst nights of my life.
Go
man.
from Obama to Trump. This you talking about the schizophrenia of America, man.
But it shows you what people, what
Yeah.
they're thinking. They're thinking things they're not going to say, but they're going to demonstrate in their actions.
Do you think he'll make it in the office again?
I think it's too early to tell, but unfortunately, I think that there is so much like factional fighting.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at say the likes of Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, their policies are being deemed very progressive. And that's what I was going to say before, that Barack and Trump now have given us like Bernie Sanders, one who, because of his loss to Hillary and the perception possibly that there may have been some like things that happened during that campaign that were not fair to him. And then when you look at like a lot of young people right now, because a lot of them don't have in their minds opportunities available to them. I think I saw a study where millennials, like 1 in 4 has like crushing debt that they probably want to die with, which is insane.
Damn.
You know what I mean? It's like to think that you did everything right. You went to college, you got good grades, you got out, and you couldn't get a job, but you're taking on all this student loan debt. Can't buy a house, can't buy a car. And then you have someone like Bernie Sanders now telling you know what? I'm going to erase everyone's student loan debt. Young people gravitate towards that. Because now, because in the beginning it was like, okay, well, gee, Bernie Sanders is like almost 80 years old. It's like, how all these young people just lined up behind him? But when someone is saying the right things to you, that you feel is going to help you get out of a negative situation, that's who you're going to follow.
That's true.
That's true.
And I think that's the appeal in many ways of Bernie Sanders. But when you start to peel back the layers, some things don't look right. Like I said, he actually, hopefully he's doing better now, but he had a heart attack.
I think that set him back big time.
But he's still out there.
I know he's still out there, but that's in people's minds.
Oh yeah, that can't be people's minds.
Can he make it?
It's human nature.
Yeah, is he gonna live through 4 terms? Not through 4 years.
But even when you look at it, even before that, now there's fractures. Even the impact of federal politics is fracturing people, even locally in Queens. So when we had the Queens DA race, and I kind of took that personal. Like I said, I got Evan, I got my youngest son, I got Anthony, my oldest son, and Tiffany Caban came out of nowhere, and she was going to be, as she described it, a decarceral public defender. Never described herself as a DA because, again, she's with the decarceral movement. Let's not put anybody in jail. I'm safer. What was the tagline? I'm safer when my neighbors are not locked up. And when I hear people talk like that, and the thing is this, right? Because I got family members who have gone away, and when I say necessarily sometimes the block is safer because they came back, I mean my experience must be different than yours. We've had family members during the crack epidemic that would literally steal belongings from family members and go and sell them. Yeah. Do you feel safer because that person's there rifling through your stuff and selling it?
Yeah.
So there's a disconnect there. So I'm like, wow, when I heard that this is the platform, and that she was actually emulating this guy, Larry Krasner, who is the DA in Philadelphia. And it's funny because it wasn't until after the election, after Melinda Katz, my candidate, that I supported, won the primary, that I actually watched a Meek Mill documentary. And when I watched the documentary, it explained to me why Philadelphia probably could benefit from the likes of a decarceral public defender.
Gotcha.
Reason being, the entire criminal justice system was rotten in Philadelphia. I think they indicted the DA. The judge that Meek Mills had, she turned out to be corrupt.
Yeah, it was horrible.
The cops had problems. It reminded me of how certain things
and
were.
they was all working together. The cops, the DA, and the judges
everybody was in
were working
It wasn't right by him at all.
sentencing people, man.
Exactly. So a lot of people got locked up and got sentences they obviously did not deserve because people were trying to make numbers. And I'm saying to myself, but that's not New York right now based on anything I'm hearing or seeing.
Right.
Back in the day when you had like the Dirty 30 and all these other corrupt cops was out there like robbing drug dealers, maybe then.
Killing drug
dealers. But back then maybe you needed something like that. But today, you talk about crime is like it's all-time low. Mm-hmm. But and then when you start to read some of the stuff though, that's what bothered me. When I start to actually read the news reports about what was happening in Philly, and everybody would explain everything away. They had one kid that robbed the bodega with an AK, and they pled him back to the street. And I'm like, are you waiting for him to pull the trigger the next time? That didn't make sense to me. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. When they started having like shootings every weekend, I think it was one weekend. I think it was like 19 shootings, like 29 people shot.
Yeah, but that's how it goes. We go from one end of the spectrum to over incarceration to not incarcerating enough, maybe, and then hopefully, which we're probably not gonna find some type of balance, but we do need some type of balance.
But I think we are making strides towards identifying how to get to at least a better place. Okay. Because again, it's like, as much as I do understand the cops have a job to do, and I can understand why they would put cuffs on like the churro lady. Mm-hmm. It's like, should you go to jail because you're selling food without a permit? I can't, in good conscience, I can't support that.
And you're just trying to make some money.
Yeah, because you're trying to get like everybody
honest living,
right?
But that's my thing.
But the thing is, it's a much deeper issue in that. And that's the part that bothers me because when I was a bid director, I was part of the negotiations with members of the city council. Corey Johnson was the chair of the health committee at the time. And we had substantive conversations about all the issues related to vending across the city. Now, a lot of people out there now trying to make this whole issue an over-policing of the subways issue are ignoring a whole other aspect of the problem. And it's a much bigger problem than what you see in video. But now because cameras everywhere, and then as they had a rally, I believe it was yesterday. And right before the rally started, at another subway stop not too far away, they cuffed up another troll lady.
That was right after.
They were doing a rally in support of the woman who got cuffed up Friday. And they handcuffed another woman selling churros at another Brooklyn subway stop like 20 minutes before.
It didn't look kind of bad.
So you gotta ask yourself.
It was 3 cops around. I wake up first thing in the morning and there's 3 cops around the troll lady.
So it's like, who's to say what's right? I mean, okay, that's not a good look.
I'm just saying the optics.
The optics are bad. There's no denying the optics are bad. But in the same token, again,
did they give her a warning too? They didn't give her no warning.
I don't even know what happened to the second woman because I don't think there's been as much noise made around her.
She's just trying to make a living.
But that's the question, though. It's like,
well, at least they ain't choke and kill her.
At least at least they ain't choke her and kill her.
I mean,
thank God. Again, it's like,
but there's a lot of them corrupt police officers too. That's actually.
Oh, you didn't give me no churro money?
Extorting a lot of those. See, the thing with me, right? It's like.
So you saying
there's a lot of them too.
The cop was like, and she was like, I ain't selling enough churros.
I had a parent at the school that used to sell CDs on Jamaica Avenue. And the only way he would be able to continue doing that job, he used to make a lot of money selling CDs. Back in the early, mid-90s, early 90s. And every month, a cop used to come to him with a piece of paper like this. When he opens the paper, it was his rent money. So he had to pay the cop about $1,000 every month to stand on that corner of this place and sell CDs.
See, I've heard plenty of stories.
Yeah, stories like that are crazy. I've never witnessed that myself personally. I'm not going to deny it has. New York City it's a big city with a lot of stories that people have never heard for the first time. Yeah. So who's to say what's going on? Mm-hmm. And is that right? No. But the thing is this, I also got a lot of friends on the job. right? We hang out, we drink, you know, we talk.
Yeah.
You can't label an entire department
No doubt.
as corrupt.
Yeah, yeah.
No doubt.
Based on the, but again,
No
at
doubt.
that
My brother
point,
was a cop.
that's when you actually have to kind of focus though on addressing the bad actors, right? Because again, it's got to be a tough job.
True.
You know, I've had friends who've lost their lives. You know, a very good friend of mine, Sean Carrington, on Martin Luther King Day, like maybe 20 years ago, doing overtime, buying bus, and this guy came out with a Mac 11, just sprayed the hallway, and Sean caught a bullet, and rest his soul, Sean passed away. So, you know, there's two sides of this coin.
Definitely a tough job.
Yeah.
Suicides are up. Police officers.
Yeah, I think we've had like 8 police officers kill themselves
Just recently.
this year alone. You know, and you have to take a look at all this
Do you
stuff.
think
though.
that led to the resignation of
Of
the commissioner?
Commissioner? Well, from my understanding, he has a very good job. So I don't think that actually had. I don't know anything on the inside of that.
Well, sometimes people still land in good spots, but do you think that played that played a part in it? Maybe he sees some things on the horizon where he's like, it's time for me to go.
I can't speak for him.
Okay.
You know, I've met the commissioner a few times.
Right.
I don't talk to him on a regular basis, so I can't speak for him.
I got you.
There's nothing that I can say that I saw
Okay.
that would have indicated that was one of the reasons why he would have actually resigned from the department. You know, it does sound like he got a very good opportunity that he took advantage of. Again, but who knows though? I mean, when you have people out there, because I've seen some debates where people say, would you want to be the commissioner in an environment where again people are pushing for decarceration and for lowering crimes and that and the third? And someone said, well, last time I checked, the policeman's job ended at the point of like putting the cuffs and locking the person away. I said, yeah, but if you keep locking up a legit bad guy and they keep coming back to the street, that's got to be frustrating.
Right.
But when you're having people advocating now, like crime, it's almost like people acting like we've cured crime and we've cured hate.
Yeah.
And we have not. And until said time, you're going to need some way to kind of like manage people who don't do the right thing.
Well, I think it's, yes, some people are just anti-jail, but there's people like me who feel that a lot of the criminals there's more underlying issues.
Oh, without a doubt.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like for instance, people talk about, the crack era being over and there's not as much heroin addicts and drug addicts on the street. That's due to 12-step programs. That ain't got nothing to do with policing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the people that used to be strung out, I see them now, I've been 20 years sober. 12-step programs, the meetings are packed with people that was on the streets. So it wasn't just that. People turn to religion, different stuff. There's brothers I know with bad dudes on the streets. I see them, man. They got their mosque on, they going to, they going to the masjid, on Fridays. So, there was definitely other things that pulled people off the streets, and that's what it really is. Like, listen, man, if you offer people opportunities, better life, and people are in prison, you give them a trade. I know some guys who are doing some wonderful things that have come home from prison. They've done more in the last 5 years than there's been people that's been home for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, they're on fire. Personal friends of mine that are like, they are blazing right now. And it's because they were given a platform, these organizations who comes to these prisons, have taken likings to them, have, grabbed onto them, and these guys are just going off. So, opportunity will definitely cut down recidivism.
Oh, I think there's no doubt about that.
I agree.
Because the goal has to be to make people more functional citizens in society. And granted, again, having worked on Rikers, I can tell you in some cases, Rikers was almost like, university for criminals.
Yeah.
Because I know brothers used to go in there and share ideas about how to come out and do whatever they did better, so he got caught with less frequency.
Yeah, you definitely,
So
networking a lot.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's a network capital.
Without a doubt, there was a lot that went on, and I think that's the part of like when I see like the no name jails movement, I get where they're coming from, because part of their contention, they're about to build 4 new borough-based jails to replace Rikers.
Are they going to be partly private too, or that's all city ran?
Nah, city run. As far as I know, it's all city run.
Okay.
But I think the problem is the price tag. I think, the numbers I'm hearing quote is $8.7 billion is being spent to build these new facilities, and the argument becomes to take that money. And this is where it gets dicey, because
$8.7 billion?
$8.7 billion with a B. And I think they just awarded like some aspect of the contract like yesterday or sometime this week to a company called, I believe it's ACOM. And that's part of the argument. It's like, oh, this is just more money being spent to kind of fuel
big
the prison industrial complex, and you're looking out for your people and do development, and how could the city council vote for this? But the thing is this, though, right? If you know again that you have not cured hate and you have not cured crime, while I think it's a great thing and it would be wonderful to be able to put every single dollar into rehabilitation programs to improve people's lives, how do you do that knowing the fact that you've got like kids playing basketball still getting shot? You understand what I'm saying? It's like the program, and then the argument is on what, do they become like, casualties of war, collateral damage?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who's to decide that? And what happens when it's your kid?
Yeah. So Michael, I want to talk to you about this. So, this is going to be a very important year coming up, especially for Southeast Queens. Southeast Queens is changing. Downtown Jamaica North.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Buildings are going up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Opportunity Zone has opened up for, I wouldn't just say big corporations, for people who investment groups, people who have decided to come together and pool their money together to invest. Opportunity Zones offer that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we don't stick together enough to kind of pool our resources. We do. I mean, listen, I read Black Enterprise. I subscribe to what Black business people are doing, and Black business people are doing their thing across the country.
Right.
So I'm not one to just say we're not. No, we are doing something. I'm doing something. Shit, it's my 24th year in business. Mm-hmm. I got 34 employees. I mean, me and my family-owned business. There's multiple Black-owned, family-owned businesses who provide jobs, who do excellent service, and et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But I would like if there was more of the networking collaboration where it was like, okay, it's 20 of us, right? We'll put up 100,000. We're gonna invest in downtown Jamaica North.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just gonna be because other people do that and take smaller of the cut in the interim, right?
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
But then if you repeat that, let's just say you got a group of 20 people who are investing. I got 100,000, you got 100,000. So 20 of us, that's $2 million. We're gonna take and invest. Okay, your cut might not be as much on this one project, but guess what?
You can parlay that.
15 projects in.
Yeah, you can parlay that. You got compound interest. There's a lot of ways to make that money grow.
Yeah.
But I think that's another issue that we have as a people. I think that the education, again, for us on a variety of areas is not comparable to other groups that have been doing this for a long period of time.
For generations.
We've been trained and taught for centuries to not work together. And that was by design.
Yeah.
Because you came together, the people that were holding you as slaves had a harder time to keep you enslaved.
Mm.
right? So I think that, unfortunately, that's something that our people have had a very hard time overcoming.
Right.
But I think we are making strides. That's why I look at things like, the redevelopment of JFK. And I think this is why it's very important to have somebody like, say, a Congressman Gregory Meeks.
Yeah, and I wanted you to, that's why I wanted you to
Who
tie all that in together.
actually can kind of help shepherd a lot of that stuff.
Right.
And can work with the other local elected officials, the council members, Senator Leroy Comrie, Assemblymember Clyde Vanell, Assemblymember Alicia Hyman, all these people that have, impact at the state level.
Right.
That can also have the air of like the governor to let him know like what our community needs here.
Right.
But then to your point, we also have to like do our part and step up as well.
Oh yeah.
And learn how to collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be each one teach one kind of situation. And it doesn't have to even be, I think, at the $2 million level. Right now, I'm actually part of a collective called the Brooklyn Wealth Collective. Small group of folks, it's 20 of us, starting off with modest investments that are actually looking at investing money into the cannabis space. And it started actually as a mastermind group, just to kind of share information about the cannabis space.
How's that doing?
So far, so the cannabis space itself right now is taking some hits. However, the thing is, as these stocks start to drop in value, they become better investments long term.
Gotcha.
Because everything that's happening right now, I saw it with Tilray, I think it was today, I saw on MSNBC, had infused a bunch of capital into some of their assets. And I read an article yesterday, I forget which publication, but right now, people are putting more and more money into the markets, even if the stocks values are dropping. Because as cannabis becomes legal in more and more states, it's going to create more and more opportunity. We've got this, and right now it's a very tricky subject because you can't bank the money. I know stories that people have told me they have, like in California, where it's legal to have a dispensary, but you can't put the money in the bank because it's still, generated from Class A controlled substance, basically.
Yeah.
So I've heard of stories of people literally like will buy a building and like have stacks of cash inside the buildings they bought, waiting for that stuff to become legal.
Yeah, then
But
you can't grow it and sell it.
Yeah, you gotta be kidding. They have what you call from
So
seed to
they
sale.
broke
Yeah.
it.
And you can't, and it depends on whether you touch the plant. Even marketing of cannabis has a whole set of complicated rules and regulations to it.
So you can't bank the money.
Nah, not at all. But you have people like, Congressmember Hakeem Jeffries, who's doing a phenomenal job down there in D.C. as well, who's also looking at ways to, possibly get cannabis off the controlled substance list so that basically you're able to actually reap more benefit. And that becomes another conversation. Because I believe in New York State, I believe there are, you can get this right, it's about maybe 11 licenses. And of the 11, I think there's none of them that are exclusively minority owned. And to get a license, I believe I think the fee just for the application, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like $39 million. So when you talk about that, though, you do have to be able, in our circumstances, in many cases, to pool money.
Right.
But the way that things have been rolled out, in some cases, people get frozen out. But that's why it's also very important to build your relationship with your elected officials, because they're the ones writing the law.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to have like some good relationships in Brooklyn, so they talk to me about like what's happening in Albany.
Yeah.
Some remember Tremaine Wright, phenomenal out there in Bed-Stuy. Senator Vilmanette Montgomery. Some remember Walter Mosley. These are people that I see from time to time when I'm in the neighborhood that will tell you like what's going on legislatively and what the landscape looks like in New York, and it's going to change eventually. So right now it's like these groups are kind of like pioneers.
Yeah.
And I think that when I talk to young people, the ones that tell me, well, we can't afford to buy this, we can't afford to buy that, I'm like, well, same thing you just said. It's like you need to perform, practice cooperative economics.
Cooperative.
And pull your money.
Yes.
Just
even
like
even on smaller levels. So like I told you I was in the gym. I go to 24-hour fitness, and we was in there, and some of the guys was like, "See, they gentrifying, they taking over." I said, "Yeah, but that's also opportunity." True. I said, "So now, you see they're building up around 165th. that's gonna spread. Now's the time. I said I just rolled down Jamaica Avenue around 181st and all that. They got stores for sale.
Yeah.
Now's the time to grab the juice bar.
It's the time to do
because
it.
it's gonna spread. It's gonna grab the.
If you can afford it though, because prices are going up.
They're
Prices are going up.
But grab some of the places that's kind of getting off of the offshoot because they haven't gone up yet. Grab those spots, and you know what the type of people that are coming are gonna want. Open the muffin and croissants joint. No, right?
Yeah. I worked the best side. I saw it.
That's the same thing with Brooklyn. That's what happened in Brooklyn.
I saw right
right there in
street.
people's faces. People wasn't grabbing it. You know, a lot of people was just.
But there
and Harlem, they got spots. They got black-owned spots. I was eating in this Adam Clayton Park, 117th. Damn, what's the name of the spot? They got good food around the corner from Amy Roos, man. The brothers, they got the spot with the health food. And you know, we get the wheatgrass shots and all that, and the tiger bone and the food, and they got the food, and the brothers, and yo, man, there's white people all up in there. They lines.
That's true.
So, you're there, we're here, guys. Merrick, it's going to start down Merrick, too. Mm-hmm. Go over to Liberty.
It's going to spread.
That little something right there.
True.
Go over to South Road. Mm-hmm. It's coming. Open up the restaurant and lounge. One of those, you know, South Road, God Brewer, all that little stuff. Liberty coming down to where the Wonder Bread Factory.
It could just be a small space.
Oh, grab them up. You and a couple of your boys.
But in many cases, people have to be able to buy and hold.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where the challenge comes in.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. You know, because
you might have to wait 3-4 years until
you gotta be able. It's almost like you gotta be able to not even look at that.
Yeah.
Until the time comes, until you you switch that gear.
Until it switches. But with those buildings going up, that's people. Mm-hmm. And so listen, man. In closing, what would some of your message be for this to people for this the political season that's coming up? Holidays coming up right after that. Political season is going to start.
So I think the main thing right now is to really educate yourself on what's happening in the political landscape. We just had an election. You know, there weren't that many competitive races. Melinda Katz was elected as the district attorney-elect. Jumaane Williams was again elected as the public advocate-elect. But there were 5 questions on the back of the ballot in New York City that encompassed 19 different proposals. For the most part, there are only really 2 that really resonated. They all passed, probably I would say with like a 3-1 margin. But there were 2 that were quite interesting. One was police accountability. And that effort actually got pushback from some of the police unions because what that ballot question does is it gives more power to the CCRB. It allows more representation to be appointed by some of the elected officials to sit on the CCRB. And to the point, like we talked about earlier, while I know a lot of the guys in blue that I hang out with, I don't know if any of them like doing off-the-wall stuff or being nefarious.
Right.
You know, but you do need some level of accountability to make sure that there are people that are not out there doing like really inappropriate things, abusing their power, abusing their badge, etc. Because that's never acceptable.
Right.
That passed, even though it had pushback from the police unions. Question 1 was whether or not they wanted to implement a new method of voting called ranked choice voting. And you could probably devote an entire show to ranked choice voting.
Ranked choice voting.
Ranked choice voting. So like in currently, you know, if the 3 of us were running for election, and you got 30%, and you know he got 40, and I got 30, he's automatically the winner. Now with ranked choice voting, you get to rank up to 5 candidates of your choice, right? And what they do, so they'll do one pass. If no one gets 50% across the board, if someone gets 50% plus 1, game is over, that person wins, just like the old school rules. However, if 50% threshold is not met, They ask everybody to go through, and it's not mandatory for you to rank other people. I'm trying to put this in a nutshell because a little bit of an interesting issue, especially given the current landscape in Queens, right? So if you rank people and somebody comes in fifth, and no one gets 50%, like their second, third, fourth,
right,
goes back up, gets reallocated now, and now you count again. And if nobody gets 50%, the person came in fourth, you get bumped off. But all your second, thirds now get ratcheted up until one person comes out with 50% plus one. Now, in a perfect world again, that sounds like a pretty good system because the argument is more people now get to, have like the winner be the majority person that everybody wanted. Right. Versus saying like one group wanted this one person. Challenge to me though becomes, and they say it's going to eliminate, instant runoffs. It will eliminate the need to have runoffs if elections are too close. It's going to save money because you're not going to have runoffs. But I think in the past decade we've had like maybe 3 runoff elections in New York City. But the thing is this: if you include now ranked choice voting, there's more incentive, for more people to run. Now they just passed a law. It was like this year that increased the amount of public matching dollars to 8-1. So you put more candidates, you give them the opportunity to match more of their public dollars. I'm guessing that cumulatively that money may dwarf anything that like one runoff every 3 or 4 years may have had.
Right.
But that's not even like the part that's like most concerning to people like myself. My councilmember Idanique Miller, who's one of the chairs of like the Black, Latino, Asian Caucus, the city council, who also spoke out against this. And mind you, I got 3 very well-produced glossy mailers telling me to vote yes on ranked choice voting. And when you flipped it over though, and you saw like who endorsed it, for the most part, it was the very progressive of the progressive candidates. It was the very progressive of the progressive labor unions, right? And when you peel back the layers even further, and if you go to Ballotpedia, it will show you who spent money. So the effort to actually get this to yes, a group, I forget the name of the group, it's like the Committee for Ranked Choice Voting. But some of the people that backed this included billionaires. There's a guy by the name of Anderson who's actually a former Enron billionaire. While he didn't have anything to do with the collapse, it's like the optics of that, again,
Enron.
kind of suspect.
Come on, baby.
That company cost people like their life savings.
Yeah. Many people.
These folks spent $2 million. And that's how I got all these nice glossy mailers, because they know I vote. Right? But if you look at Ballotpedia, there was no organized effort against it, so there was no money spent to say no. And the city, even their campaign, which was not supposed to be biased, which for the most part it wasn't, but you know how marketing and media works, they had 2 commercials. And I found it interesting that in both commercials, and people can Google that, they want to see like, the Charter NYC 2019, I think is a Twitter page, where I believe the commercials, one is pinned if the site's still up, I'm presuming it is. But they specifically mentioned ranked choice voting, and they mentioned police accountability, right? And you know how marketing works. So if you're not informed, and no one's told you anything about anything, and you go, oh, ranked choice voting, I saw a commercial about that. Let me vote yes. So it passed overwhelmingly. So all that now, it's the law of the land. But the concern that myself and others have is this. Let's say you're in a 4-person race. Let's say that one candidate's like more of a moderate or centrist. And let's say the other 3 are coming from a more progressive, left-leaning kind of like dynamic, right? They tend to be younger. They tend to be more technologically savvy. They tend to be very like hardcore, like driven organizer types. And let's say they say, you know what? Since we got a guy. So election night comes, the centrist guy gets 40% of the vote. Let's say they each get 20. But they rank each other 1, 2, 3. Let's say hypothetically, and again it's hypothetical, they've frozen this person out. When they start ranking, guess what? His number's not going to move. And eventually one of them will reach the 50 plus 1, while this person sits there. That to me is where it feels a little bit suspect.
They're gonna have to create a different way.
Bruh, it's the law. What different
it's
way?
Law. It's law. It's law.
And what's more interesting, what I'm trying to get like more of a sense, because right now that Melinda Katz has been elected as the presumptive district attorney, when she gets sworn in January, it opens up the race now for the Queensborough presidency. And you've got like a number of people running now, so they're going to call a special election. And I don't know exactly how this works because there's already a scheduled primary that's going to take place. I believe it's in actually it's on June of 2021 for borough president, so it wouldn't matter. But let's say that they're going to go through the regular process, I believe, for the special. So it won't be the ranked choice process, as far as I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But then, let's say that one person wins that race, and whoever else is in the field gets together and does that same thing. That person could be elected out of their office because of ranked choice, not because they weren't singularly the best.
Right.
And part of the thing is like, oh yeah, it forces collaboration.
Yeah.
It forces us to like be nice to each other as candidates.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, yeah. But we have to still see if that's the way it's going to pan out. And the other thing that I think that gets back to the educational piece, the majority of the marketing and the education for the people that supported this happened online. And if you look at Southeast Queens, the bread and butter of our electorate are our seniors.
Yeah.
They don't consume the information on Twitter.
They're not that generation, but they come out to vote.
Correct.
And
So what we need to do though,
on the line.
Yes.
but this is where we need to kind of, as a people, make sure that our young people are in alignment with our seniors. And if the seniors are not getting the information through the same way the young people are, the young people got to basically like reach their hand out and help them, because again,
and that's why we need them to come out and get involved in the organizations. So I want you, we got to close. I want you to talk about, plug your organization and tell people how they can find you or your social media. So y'all need to hook up with him because he knows his stuff.
That's right.
So my Democratic club is the Douglas King Democratic Club that's led by the Honorable Councilmember Ida Miller and our district leader, female district leader, Rosa Spigner. We meet the third Thursday of every month.
Okay.
At the Legion Hall by Linden Boulevard, and I believe it's 201st Street.
Gotcha.
I don't have the exact address
yeah, we know what
top
that
of mind.
is.
This Thursday, I'm actually going to be at the where is it again?
I might have to come through. I need
If you could, I'd appreciate it.
You said 201st in
Linda.
That's next week, so that's next week Thursday.
Yeah,
But this Thursday coming, the 14th. Hold on, just bear with me for 1 second here. I'm actually going to be speaking at the United for Progress Democratic Club's general meeting. That's Thursday, November 14th at 7:30 in the evening. And it's going to be at the Presbyterian Church of St. Albans at 190-02 119th Avenue in St. Albans, Queens.
Right.
Talking about some of these same issues. I'm asking young people to come out because I think, again, we really need to make sure that our seniors and everybody are getting as much information, because the folks that are thinking with a different ideology, they're not playing.
Right.
And they coming for keeps.
Plug your social media so they know how to find you and where to find you.
So probably the most active place to find me is on Twitter, where it's at Mezike NYC. That's MEZIKE NYC. You can also find me on Facebook at Michael the Governor, DAGUVNAH,
Nice.
Lambert, and also the Governor on Instagram.
Listen, it's been another great show. Conversations with Malik.
That's right.
Very informative. Michael Lambert.
Thank you for having me.
Freelance
Appreciate
consultant. Listen, I learned a lot today.
I learned a lot.
We look forward to having him back, and as the political season heats up, we're going to have more and more people coming on so that we can inform, educate.
Yeah, I think this would be a great
inspire,
platform to hear from
inform.
some of the candidates to run for these offices.
Oh, yeah.
Because again, we got to get the word out.
We got to get the word out. We got to get them here. So that's the next goal. And I'm gonna make sure I get out, so I get in these arenas, so I can speak to them, so we can personally get them here. And listen, we close the show like we always do. We love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Peace.
Peace.
Night.